Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, let's talk about buzzbait mistakes that you don't want to make. You know, knowing what not to do sometimes is as important, if not more important, than what to do out there on the water. And I have three different mistakes that I personally have made over the years, and I see a lot of people make. And so I just wanted to share those with you real quick, and hopefully it'll help you catch more fish on a buzzbait. So let's go ahead and get started. The very first mistake that I see people make with a buzzbait is using too heavy of a buzzbait. This is actually a mistake that I don't know if I've seen other people do it as much, but it's something that I've done a ton. You know, I'm a shallow water power fisherman. I like fishing very, very fast, covering a lot of water, making long casts and all that kind of stuff. And I always felt like the heavier buzzbaits on the market, the 3/8 ounce and like even the 1/2 ounce versions, were always the best. But what I have discovered is that the buzzbaits that are lighter are usually going to get more bites because they get to the surface faster. You don't waste time with a buzzbait staying below the surface. Now, there are caveats to that. Like, you do have like magnum sized blades on some of these buzzbaits, and because they catch so much water and they get to the surface so quick, you can use like a 1/2 ounce or a 3/8 ounce buzzbait and still get it to the water quick. One of the things that I've discovered you know, over the years fishing a buzzbait is that a lot of the strikes are going to happen within the first couple feet. So you want to make sure that that buzzbait planes to the surface very quickly. This is a Boogerman buzzbait. This is one of my absolute favorite buzzbaits of all time. It's got a lot of clacking action, and once you tune it, it squeaks really good. And it's just overall a buzzbait that just gets the job done and stays tuned, which is exactly what I'm looking for. But I like to use like the 1/4 ounce version and sometimes even an 1/8 ounce to be able to get it to the surface very quickly. So like as soon as I turn that reel handle, which I turn the reel handle as soon as it hits the water. In fact, I'll even like start turning it and bringing in slack before the bait even hits the water. And I try to get it as close to shore as possible, sometimes even hitting the shore and then dragging it into the water. The lighter buzzbaits, because they waste no time being subsurface before they plane out, I just think they end up getting more bites. So I think that one of the biggest mistakes you can make with a buzzbait is going with a heavier version that takes too long to get to the surface and start, you know, churning that water like it should. The second mistake that people make buzzbait fishing really has nothing to do with the buzzbait itself that you're throwing, but it has to do with what you have available on the deck of your boat once a fish misses a buzzbait. You know, as with all topwater baits, fish are going to miss a buzzbait. You know, that's just, topwater is notorious for missed opportunities. And so you always want to have a follow-up bait, some type of bait that you can cast to that location where that bass came up and blew up on the buzzbait but missed it, that you can fish very slow and keep it in the strike zone. So something like a wacky rig is a really good follow-up bait option. You know, a Texas rig, creature bait or worm or something like that, a jig, anything that you can cast back to that location after you miss a fish on a buzzbait and keep it in the strike zone, that's going to help you catch more fish. Even if you're not catching them on the buzzbait, you need to be prepared with something else to be able to maximize your success out on the water. You know, this is something that I've learned over the years tournament fishing, you know, and I will never have a buzzbait be my primary tactic without some type of follow-up bait to go with it. So I think that is a super, super important thing. And, you know, you may be asking yourself, well, why don't you just cast the buzzbait back to that fish? And sometimes that does work. Sometimes you can get a strike and actually have a fish commit to your buzzbait by throwing it back to it. But more often than not, I would say that throwing the same presentation back to a fish that just missed the bait, and one thing to keep in mind, bass don't generally miss something by accident. They're pretty good at getting something in their mouth if they really want it. There's probably something about that that buzz bait at that specific time for that specific fish that caused them to not get it in their mouth. So throwing that buzz bait back, I think, is a mistake. All right, so the final mistake, and this is something we've already touched on a little bit, but a big mistake that people make with a buzzbait is not deflecting off of cover or casting right onto the bank. You know, if you're essentially fishing the bank and just beating the bank overall with the trolling motor on high, you know, you want to get your buzzbait as close to the bank or even get it on the bank and pull it into the water as much as possible, because that's where the strike is usually going to come. The first few turns of that reel handle from the shoreline, that's where you're going to get the bites on a buzzbait a lot of times. So you want to make sure that you're deflecting off of cover, because deflection off of cover creates it creates a little bit of erratic movement of that buzzbait, and that triggers strikes as well. So make sure that you're always making contact with the available cover and also casting as close to shore as possible with your buzzbait. So anyways, guys, that's all I have to say about those mistakes for buzzbait fishing. And also, I'll put a link to my favorite buzzbait, the Booger Man, in the description below. It is just a no-nonsense fish catcher. Love this thing, so go check that out. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm going to see you out on the water. Trust the process.